Hey, and welcome to another installment of the Webinar Talk Show. My name is Tom Singer.
And I'm Liz Green. And wow, there is a lot going on in the world right now. And sometimes you just need to talk about leadership. And Tom and I invited someone who has been talking about leadership for an awfully long time, not an awfully long time, for a very long time, and has an interesting twist on it. So I'm going to let Tom introduce our guest so we can get right to it.
We are so excited because today we have Sam Silverstein, and he is somebody, wow, who I have admired for my whole career as a speaker. Sam is an author. He's about to release his 10th book. He is an international professional speaker and a business consultant who works with companies to help them identify culture and also to inspire accountability. Sam really has a unique outlook on accountability in leadership, and that's one of the things we wanted him to come and talk to us about today. In fact, he has an assessment that he's used with companies for over 10 years that helps them identify their culture and ways that they can improve that. So welcome to the Webinar Talk Show, Sam Silverstein.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Let's dive in to this accountability piece. That is not something a lot of other people talk about. And I know it's not a new thing for you. This has been a topic for you for a long time. Why is accountability so important in a culture and for a leader?
Well, I think you guys hit the nail on the head at the top of the show. In today's climate and what's going on, not just in the US, in the world today, there's never been a more important time to wrestle with the concept of accountability. And the reason we struggle with accountability individually and organizationally is because, quite frankly, we've gotten it wrong. We interchange incorrect words. We don't really understand what it is. And you know what? If we don't understand something, how can we master it and how can we live it? Either individually or in our organizations, whether it's an association, a corporation, whatever the organization. And so accountability is the highest form of leadership. I've put that stake in the ground for years. And the reason is because accountability is about people. Quite simply, accountability is keeping your commitments to people. That's what accountability is. Now, many times we focus on accountability. Leaders try to manipulate their people to do more, and they do it through accountability. And you know that's going on because they say things like, I'm going to hold you accountable. That's not real accountability. Accountability isn't punitive. Accountability isn't a gun to someone's head, which is what that statement is. Accountability really is keeping your commitments to people, not the tactical commitments. Tactical commitments like, I'll get the report to you by 10, I'll have this project finished by Friday, I'll get you the quote by next Tuesday. Those are tactical commitments. If we're not completing those, quite frankly, we should be fired. It's the relational commitments, the commitments to live the values, the commitments to stand by you when all hell breaks loose, the commitment to the truth, because accountability and lying can never coexist. It's relational commitments that most times do not need to be stated that build a connection, a relationship between people that inspires and prioritizes accountability.
That is really interesting. In a couple episodes back, we were talking about stress caused by unpredictability or uncertainty. So I'm guessing that an accountable leader is a predictable leader. Their people can predict what's going to happen, that it's going to be a consistent support, consistent behavior. Am I right?
Well, absolutely. Because what happens is an accountable leader is one that puts their people first. It's always about the people. It's not about them. It's not posturing, positioning, trying to look good. It's living the values of the organization. That's how the culture has been defined, through those values. And the accountable leader lives those values equally, fairly, without bias or prejudice through everyone in the organization. So you know what's expected of you. You know the level that you need to perform. You know the level of integrity. And that creates an environment that is I love the way you say that, Eliz, that the lack of stress. One of my case studies was about a bank in Amarillo, Texas. Wrote a book called Non-Negotiable about Happy State Bank. That is truly the name of the bank. They were founded in Happy, Texas, the town without a frown. Yeah, you can Google that. When the name of your city is Happy, you get to say crazy things like that. And I walked off the elevator at the executive level of this building with offices all around with my assistant, Sharon at the time, and she stopped and she says, you know, Sam, this is the most peaceful setting in any office I've ever been in. Now, you need to know this is an incredibly high-performing organization that for 30 years, the value of their stock has always gone up. It's never gone down. It didn't go down in 2008. It didn't go down in 2010. And they are just off the charts in their performance. Yet you would think such a high-performance organization, there would be high stress, but it's the exact opposite. They are the most accountable organization we've ever come across. We know that for a fact because we used our assessment on them. And what we discovered is that by building a culture based on a set of values, inspiring accountability in people, allowing them to do what they need to do rather than micromanaging, you create a place where people can be who they are. They can make decisions. They know how to make decisions. And they become accountable in the organization because of what the leader has inspired.
So, Sam, when people hear you speak about this, I'm sure that everyone in the audience, their heads kind of give the proverbial nod, because everything you're saying, it should be second nature. This is the way business and life and our government and our communities, this is the way it should be. Why is this accountability so non-present?
Because
non-present.
Non-present. I like that. I got to look that word up, Tom. People think they're on track. Look, I came off the stage a couple years ago from a major retail organization in an international organization. I come down, the leader pats me on the back and he says, great job. And I know both of you have heard that. We hear that all the time when we're speaking. Great job. And then he says, I'm sure glad we do all of those things. That's CEO of this major organization. So here's the thing. First of all, I did my due diligence ahead of time and I knew they weren't doing all of those things. Second of all, that's not how he should be thinking. The question should always be, how do we get better? He should have said, you know what? I think we get a lot of those things pretty good or really well. But if there was one you wanted us to focus on, what would that be? If we're already on the right track, what do we need to do to move further down the line? And so leaders think that they're all that in a bag of chips. They think that they're there and they're not, because they still use phrases like, I'm going to hold you accountable. They still say things like, you have to earn my trust. They still say things like, this is not personal, this is business. Every interaction between two people is personal. They still say things like, I have 35 headaches or problems or challenges, and everyone has a first name. These are all examples of leaders that think they're accountable, but they are 180 degrees from the truth.
So is arrogance amongst leaders the core root of this problem?
Well, that certainly would be an indicator that there's a lack of accountability, because truly accountable individuals have a transparency and they're willing to share not just their strengths, but their weaknesses and where they come up short. Because guess what? If I'm truly an accountable leader, Tom, I'm going to tell you, look, I need your help with this. If you see that I'm going off track, I expect you to let me know. Now, an arrogant leader, they don't want to hear that, okay? They think they have all the answers, but the truth is that they don't. And so of all the organizations that I've seen, the organizations that outperform all the other organizations, and I don't care if they're trade associations, I don't care if they're corporations, I don't care if they're communities or family groups, but the ones where the leader truly understands what accountability is, which means it's about the other person. It's about serving the other person. It's about these commitments that we make to the people around us that ensure their success. Those leaders create organizations that far outperform the marketplace. In times of challenge like right now, they're able to survive, and some of them thrive in these times, but certainly as we come out of difficult times, their growth rate and their recovery rate is significantly faster than the other organizations. And the leaders that don't get it, don't get it. And to give you a great example, I was talking with an organization. They were thinking about bringing me in. They had 256 locations around the world. And I asked them how we hadn't done the assessment on them, but I can ask a few questions and get some hints. And I said, so how well do the leaders at each of these 256 locations live the values? And the answer, I said, live the values the same way as they're defined. Well, you expect them all to live the values? That was the response. Well, I realize how far off they are. If their people aren't living the values, then they don't have a unified culture. That means at one place it's done this way, at another place it's done that way. Anything goes. And when that's going on, there's a total lack of accountability.
Huh. So let's talk a little bit about that assessment. Because at the top of the show, Tom said you have been using that for 10 years. Which should, as the data geek of the duo here, that must provide you with some fairly yummy data.
Yeah, well, exactly. What happens is when we look at an organization, we know right away where their challenges are. We know if they're strong in accountability, if they're weak, and we know exactly why. So it enables us to help a leader fix the organization. But here's the key. As powerful as this assessment tool is, if the leader's not open to change, if the leader's not open to saying, we can be better, I want to be better, then all of that is a total waste of time. And so it's kind of like the people sometimes that need you the most or need me the most don't hire us to come in because they think, because the problem that they have is they're not open up to outside people with outside ideas. They think they can solve everything. They think that they have it all figured out. And the reality is the only way any of us get better is by incorporating other ideas. I learned from the two of you, and hopefully I share something that helps the two of you, and then the three of us together, we grow. And that's the way it is in any organization. You have to be open to those outside ideas. So the data that we're able to collect is we're able to within minutes, literally within minutes. The assessment takes 6 to 8 minutes. It's available in 20 languages. We're able to know exactly where the challenges are inside of an organization's culture with regard to performance, engagement, and accountability. The question is the leader going to do anything?
So Sam, in this, kind of trying time that we've been in with the pandemic and people having to suddenly be pulled out of the workforce and sent home, have leaders stepped up? Have you seen within companies and within trade associations, have you seen the leaders really step up as a whole? So
like at any point in time, we've seen the full gambit. We see some leaders that look, I heard a story recently, and I forget the name of the company that did it, but somebody was told that they had to fire a certain number of people in their department, and that was it. And they sent them off to fire those people. They had to fire 15, 25 people, whatever it was. And 48 hours after they completed that task, they were fired. That's not real leadership. That's not accountable leadership. There's no openness, no transparency, no honesty. You sit down with people, you communicate with people, you're impacting people's lives. When you're the leader of an organization, it's the success of the other people rests on your shoulders. Leadership is always about the other people. Leadership is never about you. Accountability is about commitments we make to other people. Accountability isn't manipulating people to do more, trying to get things done. Listen, if I'm accountable to you, if I support you, if I'm committed to guiding you to your potential, helping you be your best, well, you're going to be all in on the organization. And so that's what it's about. In these challenging times, those leaders that recognize that their people have challenges are those leaders that build those accountable relationships and people respond. I had a client, bless his heart. He goes, you know what? We're just going to go home. We're going to work from home. It'll be business as usual from home. Now, his intent was good, but he didn't realize what he was saying. It's not business as usual from home. So we sat down and I had to have a conversation with him because I advised him and I said, guess what? When your people get home, it's not like they're working from home under normal conditions when the kids are off in school or daycare. They're at home, their spouse is home, their children are home, their parents might be at home. It's an entire different environment. So we have to look at that and say, what are our expectations? Maybe a 40-hour work week isn't reasonable. Let your people know that you expect 30 hours or 32 hours or whatever it is, and because you understand that they have to take turns with their spouse or significant other, taking care of the children or whatever it is they have to take care of. Those leaders that take the time to realize that their people have needs and then serve those needs, those are the accountable leaders. They're searching for solutions that involve their people. They're not mandating to their people.
That's really smart. Now, I know we're all in the meetings industry. We're all professional speakers, although you have a very nice consulting business as well. As we look to people who are leading associations, who are making hard decisions about how to serve their members.
Absolutely.
Certainly, just deciding whether that in-person meeting is going to go forward. Are you going to you're going to cancel it? Are you going to take it virtual? Are you going to try to do something hybrid? In that space where you're leading a membership organization, which is a little different.
Well, accountability never changes.
Okay.
Accountability is keeping your commitments to people. Those commitments are relational commitments, not the tactical commitments. A commitment is no matter what. So now, what does that look like as a leader of an association? As a leader of association, you have a certain challenge. And as the former president and chairman of the board of an association, I've worked at that top level and I get it. One, you probably have a team or a staff. And so you as the leader of your association, you have the team of people that you need to take care of. And so there's the accountability and the relationship between them. That's one. Then there's your constituents, your members, your customers, whatever you want to call them. But those members, there's an accountability to them because they're relying on the association for certain help in being successful through these challenging times. And so the question as the leader of an association is, how do I serve these two groups to my fullest potential to help them be successful, to help them thrive? And if you ask that simple question, the answers to that will generate ideas that you can implement. I had a client of mine that I've spoken for on numerous occasions, and they had a program that was supposed to be in July. They're not going to have the live program. They're worried that their sponsors are going to jump ship, but if their sponsors stay, they could put on a virtual event. They're not selling tickets to their members. They want to give this to the members. So he came to me and said, would you be willing to speak at this virtual event? And I said, of course I will. And so we designed a program that would serve his members, but then he was also concerned about his sponsors. I said, why don't we do this? Tell your sponsors that you're able to get me to speak to them, and have all your sponsors bring 3 executives to a private forum, and we're going to talk about accountability, building a more successful corporate culture, and building your organization. And so now the CEO, the president of this association, is able to serve his members, and he's able to serve his sponsors and people that he has a relationship with on that level. And we've already done a program with his team members, with the employees of the association. So he's serving all constituents. But that's how he thinks. He's thinking about the people around him.
Wow.
Well, I think that's really smart to really think about, in this environment, what's possible. In person, that would be really hard for you to serve all of those people. Like, do something for the staff, do something for the members, do something for the sponsors. That would be really hard in person. It's really easy to do in the virtual environment.
Well, here's the thing. What we've discovered is, and I'm getting ready to record a program for a client, and the program is titled Why Accountability. And so what you're talking about is innovation and creativity, because right now we're in a time where we're using this virtual world, and now there's new opportunities where we can focus on what we can't control. Oh, I've got to stay home. I can't have live meetings. And we can sit there and wallow in focusing on what we cannot control, or we can choose to focus on what we can control. And when we do that, it opens up the possibilities. How can we serve people in a way that we never had this opportunity before? Because the events that we're facing today has fast forwarded us into the world where we can communicate virtually. It is acceptable, and it can be done with a high degree of quality. And so why accountability? Well, one of the things that a culture and an organization that inspires accountability also inspires is creativity, innovation, and change. That flows in those organizations that are highly accountable. We see the direct correlation. And so you hit the nail on the head. When the leader's asking the right questions and they're really looking to serve people, and that's what accountability is serving people. When a leader is truly looking to do that, then they're going to engage the people around them, they're going to listen to that input, and they're going to come up with a product offering of service that is going to go beyond where they were before.
Right.
So, Sam, as you're speaking and talking about sort of these great leaders and then maybe areas where people fall short, our political world comes into my mind. And I don't want to go right or left on this, but just in general, you know, people, no matter who they like, can probably name on one hand in their lifetime who our true leaders have been. How come in our governments, you know, whether it's local, state, national, or other countries, how come the truly great leaders are so rare?
I just want to make sure we have enough time for this. Tom, that's a great question, and it could be seen as a very sensitive question. But we're going to go there, because if we can't deal with tough issues and tough questions, then we're not being accountable to the people that are watching this and listening to this. So let me put this up front. This is not a political thing. But what we see is people want to support their candidate. And so they want to support their party. And what I say is, I don't believe it's about party. It's supposed to be about people. It's not about party, it's about people. So the question really is, can you look beyond your party and honestly answer the question, is this individual, whoever that individual is, whichever party it is, do they truly care about people? Are they truly looking to serve people? Are they just posturing and trying to look strong or make themselves look good for re-election? Or are they doing what they need to do regardless of the impact on whether it positions them for re-election? Because it's easy to make the decision to do what we have to do for re-election. And I'll go back, and again, this is not about party, but if you go back to George H.W. Bush, and I mean, this guy, I don't care if you're Republican, if you're Democrat, it doesn't matter. The bottom line was, he said, read my lips, no new taxes. And then when he got to the point where he believed that the way to solve the problem at hand was new taxes, he went forward with that. Now, I felt at the time that, wow, that's a tough call. Now, whether you're on his side or not, you have to admit that's a tough call. And I kind of believed at the time, whoever wins the election this next time around is going to have a great economy, because he's working hard to help move it in that direction. Leaders today in government don't quite see it that way, unfortunately. They don't realize that it truly is about the people. And here's what it comes down to at the end of the day. My dad told me 50,000 times, if he told me once, and I bet you've heard this too, actions speak louder than words. And so for me to stand here and tell you I'm a nice guy, I care about people, I'm all for this, I support that, that's all rhetoric. The question is, what do my actions show you that I believe? Leaders, accountable leaders, always bring calm to the situation, because they know that it's all eyes on them. Accountable leaders are always looking for solutions, and they're looking for ways to bring people together to solve those solutions. Accountable leaders know they don't have all the answers, but there's good people out there that do have the answers, and they listen to those people. And one of the commitments is based on the idea that I have faults and failures, therefore I'm willing to accept your faults and failures. Accountable leaders are always saying, we win, we succeed, we're doing great because of what they're doing. And when we come up short, and we do come up short, the accountable leader is always first to say, we came up short, I don't think I gave them the resources they needed to solve the problem. I didn't give them the right amount of time. I didn't fill in the blank. The accountable leader is always shouldering the responsibility for coming up short and always giving the praise for the winning solution to someone else, because there is no leader that in a vacuum can run an organization, can run an association, or can run a country.
Wow.
That was great. And you did it in not a lot of time.
Well, we still have time for a follow-up question on that.
So I do have a follow-up question for you, and that is, if somebody watched this video and they're like, I have to know more about Sam, how can they contact you?
Oh, wow. Well, I appreciate that. Very easily, I mean, samsilverstein.com or beaccountable.com will take you to my website, and I'm well connected on LinkedIn, Instagram, those two are probably where I spend most of my time, and I love to connect. Feel free to reach out. If you'd like more information about our assessment or any of the books that I've written, then reach out, because my mission is to build a more accountable world. I believe we build a more accountable world by helping individuals learn to be more accountable, building more accountable organizations, and then those organizations have the ability to impact the communities we live in and the world on a broader basis. That's how we build a more accountable world.
Well, again, thank you so much. What else can we say, Eliz? This was an amazing interview that I think in the current times we're in on so many levels, I think Sam is onto something with this.
Well, he's been onto something for quite a long time. It's just right now, it is really relevant to everybody.
I appreciate the honor of being here, and Eliz and Tom, I value and appreciate both of you. Thank you for allowing me to share my take on accountability and being an accountable leader.
Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate all you do for our association as well. And we're going to be back next week with more great guests. We'll see you Monday and Wednesday next week. Tom, tell them where they can find us.
They can find us at webinartalkshow.com, or if they go to Facebook and join the Webinar Talk Show Facebook page, all of these are archived there. All of these great interviews that we've done with so many people. And Eliz and I really believe there's so many different ways to get content out there, and really engaging, powerful interviews is one of the best ways to really let somebody be able to see the heart of a leader. And I think Sam helped us demonstrate that today.
Absolutely. And if you're struggling with that decision about what are you going to do with your in-person event, please use us as a resource. We've been doing this for 6 years and are here to help. We'll see you next week. Until then, have a great day.
Thank you.